Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the next episode of Build a Beast. We are sharing an elite coaching journey with you guys live on air every week as we tap into the pillars you need to master to essentially maximize your energy day to day. So, in doing that, I have sought out an elite performance coach that we will bring in here in a moment. Thank you guys and welcome to Build a Beast. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's just go ahead and bring in our superstar in here. Right out the gates, ladies and gentlemen, Justin Rothling Chauffeur is in the house. Welcome, brother.
What's up, my man? You're the real star here.
the guinea pig squealing week to week over here, but I've been loving it. Thank you so much for your time. Just immensely grateful for you sharing your energy equation here with everybody that's been on the journey with us. It's just some high level insights and just potent, powerful sessions each week we tap into here. So thank you, sir.
You're absolutely welcome. And today's going to be another one of those sessions where there's so much anecdotal BS out there about how much should I eat, what should I eat, when should I eat, and what it really comes down to. And this is going to be what really gets fun. I know that with you, we did our DNA and epigenetic testing, and when for a lot of people out there who don't understand or don't know what DNA and epigenetic testing is or what the purpose of it is, what happens is we are all made up at our cellular level of DNA. And when we look at what that DNA does to us, or ultimately what it's made up of us from, is we can now start to identify what areas of our life and what areas of specifically nutritionally are not optimal for us. So do we not break down carbohydrates well? Do we not break down fats well? Do we not break down proteins well? Do we have a higher level of collagen uptake? Do we have a higher level of what types of protein should we use? Is it whey? Is it collagen? Is it egg albumin? Like all of these different things that we anecdotally hear, oh, this is the best, or this is the best, or this is the best. Not necessarily true for you. What are you deficient in on a micronutrient level? Is it vitamin A? Is it vitamin D? Is it vitamin C? Is it vitamin K? Is it vitamin A? Is it vitamin E? And all of a sudden you start to get just so confused as to pre-workout. Do you use beta-alanine? Do you use arginine? Do you use post-workout? Do you use glutamine? Do you use protein? Oh my God, it just is over and over and over again. But if we simplify it down for ourselves, and this is really what we've done with you, Travis, over the course of our first step here, is not complicated at all. Because nutrition doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't need to be some far out there scary journey that we're going on, but rather something that is extremely dialed in and extremely focused on the small little bits of what we're truly looking for. And so when we understand that and when we can dial that in, that's truly what matters. And so I'll kind of share my screen here with you guys again and bring it back to just Travis's data and take a look over the last couple of weeks. Is we all know that we all come back to this key metric of HRV is what we spoke about. And if we saw over the couple of weeks, Travis's HRV started to drop and started to dip a little, but we saw a massive uptick in where he's come from. If we take a look at from the month to the last week, his average when we started in HRV was 51. And now from the last week, his average is 62. So we've gone up in our HRV 11 HRV points, or remember, it's in milliseconds, from when we started to where we are now. So that's meaning that what we're doing is putting him in a proper area to succeed, a better stress level internally, ultimately of what he's feeling on a day-to-day basis so that he can operate at that higher level. So we know that what we're doing is producing some level of result for him, which is a major positive. the sleep aspect, and I look down here, I know we talked about this last time, guys, but when we started with Travis in the old sleep component, look at the difference in sleep consistency. I think that's a big one that I can't wait to dive into sleep, which is in 2 weeks. But we're going to dive into this a lot more about why this matters. But you can start to see how Travis's habits and what he's focusing on are really starting to become optimized in this whole space and really truly changing how he behaves on a regular basis. So that is what's really important to see and ultimately is loving here. But when we come over and we take a look at the, can you see my white screen, Travis?
Yes, indeed.
I love
Empty
it.
white screen's working.
When we come over here and we take a look at nutrition, so often or not, we end up with this wild and crazy habit of how much should I eat? When should I eat? Why should I eat? And I simplify it down to a 3-2-1 rule, which Travis has been following or trying to follow
Mostly.
and there's certain hiccups along the way, but actually it's a 3-2-1-0 rule if we go this way. And the first one is 3 meals a day. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, why should I be having 3 meals a day? The biggest issue with nutrition is that we don't give ourselves the amount of calories we need in a given day. We often deprive ourselves of certain foods, certain meals that have been told to us to be bad, or we should intermittent fast every day, or we should skip out on lunch, or we should eat really heavy in the beginning of the day and not eat dinner, whatever it may be. But we need to have 3 square meals a day in order to fuel our body optimally based upon when we're doing activities. So number 1 is 3 meals a day and focus on the quality meals a day. Number 2, 2 pieces of fruit a day. And I often get people ask, okay, like what kinds of fruit? I don't care. Apples, peaches, plums, pears, watermelon, grapes, berries, you name it. Anything is a go here. And I saw on Instagram and some of these influencers the other day saying, hey, we should watch our fruit intake because of all the sugar and everything else. And let's pause for a second. We are living in a culture that we are afraid of strawberries, or we were afraid of apples, or we're afraid of pears. Like, let's think about that for a second. We are afraid of fruit because of the fructose component, the sugar component of fruit, but yet it's a natural entity. And yet we're pushing things like a vegan, all plant burgers that are one step away from plastic. We really thought about it. Like, let's think about that for a second. I'm really challenging you guys to think about that, because and if anything comes out of this whole series that we do, guys, it's challenge the status quo. Always understand why. Don't take anything for face value, because like I talked about before, if people can't convince you, they're going to try to confuse you. And nutrition's a big one. If they can't convince you that something is right, they're going to try to confuse you. So yeah, fruit must be bad because I'm completely confused as to what I should be eating, and I've been told that this is this, and so that's what it is. So 3 meals a day, 2 pieces of fruit a day, and the third one, well, number 1 is my favorite, 1 big ass salad a day. And so that big ass salad ends up being one of those meals. So now we've got our baseline here, and you're going to say, well, Justin, what's this mean? We're going to come back to this in a second. But when we do this, I love to be able to say, okay, how do we optimize ourselves from what we're drinking and what we're eating on a day-to-day basis? It all comes down to our fist. I didn't want Status to go and have to bring a measuring scale everywhere, or take pictures of what he was eating, or enter it into an app, or track everything. I'm going to ask a question out there. How many people have ever tried sustainably to enter their food into an app, whether it be MyFitnessPal, whether it be Nutrigenomics, whether it be whatever it may be? It never works. It never.
For a week or two maybe, and then it becomes more work than eating itself.
Completely frustrating. And you're just like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, you know what? I'm just not even going to eat, or I'm going to put in there what I think I should eat, and then I'm going to eat something else anyways. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And so we've simplified it down to something everybody travels with, their hand. So 1 serving of protein, size of your palm. 1 serving of protein, size of your palm. 1 serving of vegetables, size of your fist. Cut it off right at the wrist. 1 serving of vegetables. So if you're getting broccoli, it's about right. Carrots, it's about right. Asparagus, salad, whatever it may be.
Okay.
You get a cup of carbohydrates. So literally, scoop the hand, cup of carbohydrates. That could be a cup of rice, quinoa, pasta, a tortilla shell, you name it. Any type of carbohydrate. And then a thumb, cut off right there at the knuckle, 1 serving of fat. That's olive oil, that's dressings, that's cheese, that's avocado, anything from that fat group, okay? And so what happens now is you open yourself up to so many options of what you can eat, because you're no longer limiting yourself. You're no longer saying, oh, I can't have that taco night with friends, or I can't have that Friday night piece of pizza with family. Absolutely you can. Deprivation is the worst thing that we can do when working within nutrition, because we all of a sudden crave something so much and we're left in a completely different scenario that doesn't really work for us. And so if we were to break it down and come back to that, let me pull this screen back up here. Pull this guy up. 0 is 0 serving sizes over allotment. So if we were to pull up Travis's, we have for him carbs, fats, proteins, and veggies. And he has certain portion sizes for each. He has 5 servings of carbohydrates. He has 4 servings of fats. He has 6 servings of protein. And he has 6 servings of veggies. And this is per day. Okay? So when we look at this, this is ultimately what he's utilizing every single day. And so Travis now comes back to, he goes, okay, hey guys, I need to have 5 cupped hands of carbohydrates a day, 4 thumb sizes of fats, 5 hand sizes or 6 hand sizes of proteins, and 6 fists of veggies. So if we were to plan out his day and kind of go like this, okay, Travis would wake up. He's going to have in the morning 2 eggs and an apple. That's his breakfast. Okay, great. All of a sudden, what do we have here? We have 2 portions of protein. We have 1 carbohydrate. And oh, just look at that. He has 1 piece of fruit checked off the list. Okay, so we come back to this. We go, oh, look at this. We've got one meal that's been done and looking pretty good to us already. So now we come down here and we go to what's next. Well, maybe he wants to have a protein shake and an orange. And pardon me, I'm just going to let this look.
No worries. I know the dog adventures all too well.
That's what happens when we go live.
Yep, gotta love it. Oh, good, man. No, loving this.
So this was it. So now he has a shake. Okay, this is maybe late morning, just because, you know what, maybe he worked out, maybe he didn't. Okay, great. I have had now, this is my third portion of protein. And oh, look it, I had an orange, second carb. And oh, look at, just by that, I also finished up my 2 pieces of fruit. So that's done per day. I've now had a snack, still looking for what I'm doing for the day. Now I go, okay, I'm gonna have my big ass salad for lunch. And let's call this 3 servings of veggies. On top of this, whoops, we can spell, we're gonna have 1 grilled chicken breast. Okay, and we can change up whatever that is any given day. Now, here's a lot of times where they'll trick you. Is the chicken breast is typically massive. So if you're going to someplace like Chipotle or someplace where it's measured out, it's going to be different because it's in a cup. So it's probably 1 serving versus when they're actually bringing out like a typical chicken breast that's the size of your head. So that would be somewhere between 1 to 2 servings of protein. So you're now looking at 4 to 5 portions of protein. Plus, you've now had your big ass salad. And we're going to click that off the list. We've had now your second meal. And oh, we haven't gotten over any serving allotments yet. Well, now we go to the afternoon. Do you want a snack? Maybe, maybe not. If you do, maybe you have some hummus and veggies. Let's just throw that out there for an example. Well, perfect. We have 1 fat. We have another serving of, so 4th serving of veggies, and away we go. So now, if we come into this, we're now into our last meal of the day. Great, I love it. 3 meals, 3 square meals is going to be dinner. And now what do we have left? We have, if we look at it, we have 3 carbohydrates, we have 3 fats, we have 1 protein, and 2 veggies. So say, for example, it's Taco Tuesday. Let's have 3 tortillas. Let's have 2 servings of guacamole. Let's have 1 serving of chicken on those. And then let's have some veggies on top of it. Well, look at, lo and behold, you've now accomplished 1, 2, 3, and 4. You've done everything you needed here. You're not over your allotment. And look at the quality of food in your day that you've had. Nothing too difficult, nothing hard, nothing that's restricted you. We could even do it where we did it the other way. And hey, you know what? We want to go and it's pizza night. Not that this is great consistently, but what if it is pizza night? You want to have 4 slices of pizza. Well, that's 4 carbs. That's 4 to 5 fats. Let's see what we put on it, because maybe we put on mushrooms and chicken and mushroom, for example. So 1 protein and 1 veggie. Let's just start there, okay? Now we work backwards. Well, we've certainly used up our allotment of proteins or our allotment of carbs and fats for the day, but that leaves us with a lot of protein and a lot of veggies for the rest of the day. So we're probably going to now have maybe 2 salads. We're probably just going to have a protein shake once or twice. We're probably going to have egg whites, which are going to be for breakfast. And so we start to reverse engineer this, which still allows you to have exactly what you want when you want, without making you feel like you're deprived of the things that you absolutely love in life, and still get the results that you're truly looking for on a massive, massive level that changes the way in which we can show up day in and day out. Because remember, our body, and remember what we're doing this for, guys. The key metric that we're quote unquote chasing is HRV. And HRV is that internal stress metric on our body. And when we see that on a day-to-day basis, we can now all of a sudden say, okay, what effect is the nutrition that I'm having or what I'm eating having on me? If all of a sudden everything is the same, if I'm sleeping well, but again, we go through our 7-level checklist. That's why we're doing this, guys. Go back to the first or second episode that we talked about those 7 areas: sleep, nutrition, exercise, hydration, stress management, immune function, environment, mindset. All 8 areas have a massive, massive impact on HRV and the stress that we're under. That's why with Travis, we pay really close attention to this HRV metric. And we've seen a downward turn, but now we see an upward turn. And so we would want to know what happened, or what did he do specifically over the course of this week. Was it which one of those 7 areas maybe wasn't focused on as much as it could have been, or which ones were adjusted long term so that we can now see a change in the way in which we're showing up day-to-day basis. And when we come back to our nutrition, if everything else is in alignment, we've made sure that we're not in a greatly stressed out state. We're making sure that we're getting the hydration we need. We're making sure that we are focused on these couple key metrics of exercise and stress management and immune function. But we come in, we're like, you know what? I know why my HRV is down. I had pizza night 4 days last week. I haven't been getting my 2 pieces of fruit in. I haven't been getting my 3 meals in. I haven't been doing X, Y, or Z. And when we live in an inconsistent space like that, what ends up happening is our body stresses for that level of consistency. It stresses for that level of homeostasis. And when we can't give that to our body, it starts to create massive issue for us long term.
No, I've noticed that now having the data, because I've always been conditioned to follow the data, follow the feedback in business context. So seeing it now, I'm always trying to like self-diagnose, like or yeah, that Friday night was the most immediate, obvious one of feedback, but there's more subtle things too of like increasing busyness or work pressure, like that's more invisible for a week. I think that might have been a little bit more of that downturn of like a little bit of imposter syndrome, new work coming in, multiple things, and you're like, whoa, ooh, and you're kind of thinking about it in after hours. But no, that's brilliant to have the data because it gives you the opportunity to even start that conversation. So
you're exactly right. And I mean, I was working with another client today that his HRV has slowly gone down since Saturday. And we were like, you know what, like, what's been going on? And he goes, he goes, I didn't even think about this. I really like totally forgot, but I've been working on like my 100-year plan where I've been thinking about like, how do I set up my kids now so they're going to be set even if I'm not here in 5 years. And he's been in this constantly, and he hasn't allowed himself to come out of it and truly give himself that stress break. And that constant thinking, that constant stress, and that constant overthinking, and eliminating, because he was so passionate about this, he eliminated his exercise routine just for a week. He eliminated some of, even his quality of eating was still high, but wasn't quite on point like he talked about. But everything else was checkpointed. And we came back together today and we were like, look at what you did. It's awesome that you're in this passion project. It's awesome that you're working on this. But look at what we forgot to do. Our nutritional meals slipped a little bit. We didn't work out as well. And we're on this constant stress. And we saw this downturn in HRV over literally the day you started to today. We've seen this downward trend. What does that tell you about the importance of the internal load and stress metrics that are going on? And so I know we've got a question on hydration, but and we'll touch on this next week as an entire episode because hydration is massive, where you have 75% of your body is made up of water, 85% of your major 3 organs, your brain, your lungs, and your heart, are made up of water. So think about even a 1% change in total hydration, the effect that it would have, especially on HRV. And HRV, don't remember, is our mind-heart connection. So that is the big, again, a big one for next week to kind of dive into. And hydration and nutrition are slowly fit together, but even what Jeff was saying there with having lemon water empty your stomach in the morning, that may not work for everybody either. Because again, when we remember when we drink water, and I don't want to get into this because I can go right on a whole tangent of the type of water we're drinking, but lemon is actually acidic. We need to be drinking water with a pH of anywhere from 8 to 9.5. So lemon water will actually potentially start eating away the lining of our stomach. Now, that may work for some. The majority of people, it may not work for. And so that's just something to be conscious of when we are drinking, when we're putting these things in our body. And especially coming back to nutrition is, I don't know if this is Jeff's case, but he may not eat breakfast. There's some people that just, you know what?
Gosh,
yeah. Don't feel like eating breakfast in the morning. That's okay. That's okay. But guess what? We still need our 3 meals a day. So how are we going to get those in? Maybe this meal right here that we just set up is something that we have immediately after our workout. And this becomes at like 10 or 11. And then the salad becomes at like 1 o'clock, 1:30. And then this becomes at 3:30 or 4. And then this becomes at 6. The way in which you get it done during the day, it doesn't matter. It's the fact of when you get it in for you that matters. How it fits your schedule, how it fits your routine. And to be honest with you, these numbers that we came up with that we calculated for you, we may have to start changing them as our body starts to change. This isn't something that we're going to stay on for forever. We're going to leave it until we get your DNA results, in which we're going to have more information of what works for you. And then we're going to dial in it even deeper. But at that point, it becomes really, really important. And here's the other thing that I want to, I'll kind of end with here before we kind of open it up for questions, is I know a lot of people talk about how breakfast is not important. It's like a myth. It's something your parents talked about. Breakfast is the first meal that we put into our bodies a day is the most critical. Why? Pretend we stop eating dinner at 7:30 and we don't eat anything else throughout the rest of the day. We then wake up at 8 o'clock, we maybe get our workout in, and then we sit down for something at 9 o'clock. That is now a 14-hour fasted window. Whether we like to think about it fasting or not, it's a 14-hour fasted window, 7:30 to 9:30. And so when we think about that, our body is not hungry. Our body is thirsty for nutrients. Think about it that way. Our body is not hungry. Our body is thirsty for nutrients. And a body that is deficient in micronutrients is a body that will have constant cravings, is a body that will have constant hunger, and is a body that will then constantly binge or constantly search for something. And what happens is, again, there's a study done at NYU that's took a look at the human brain. And what happens is anytime we're fasted, anytime that we are in that state, our body is looking immediately for glucose. And because we've all been kids or we've all been doing different things, we know where we get glucose from. We get glucose from sugars, fats, salty items, candy, all this stuff. And so that is why whenever you're craving something, you never get a craving for spinach. You never get a craving for you get a craving for ice cream. You get a craving for you get a craving for call it pizza. You get a craving for something that is going to be different than the healthy stuff that you typically talk about before. And so that is the key that comes up with all of this stuff, is you want to make sure that you're putting the proper nutrients into the body on a continual basis so that those cravings no longer come. And it starts with the highest quality of nutrients first. So that's why, again, Travis, I know this is what we talked about with you, is making sure that first thing in the morning, we get a shake in. And that's something that if that's what you want to make your daily breakfast, because you can't really eat, or a juice or something. And when I say a juice, I'm not talking about just like container juice, but like put it in a Vitamix, like a tomato, some celery, some spinach, some berries, and get something that's high in antioxidants, high in vitamin C, high in vitamin A, high in vitamin K. Throw some zinc in there. If you can make sure that your micronutrient level is truly optimized first thing in the morning, you will minimize cravings all day long. And then it just simply becomes following that FIST and that 3-2-1-0 rule.
Love it. No, it's that consistency piece is just the biggest one to stick with, especially similar to Jackie's situation here. Just breakfast has not been in my routine, so it just feels so foreign to try and wake up and want to pursue making breakfast. But the shake version has helped, the juice version has helped, and associating it with that morning exercise that we were tapping into the prior week is I've kind of attached those to be now stacked, like I guess stacked habits or whatever the official theory is. So that's been a help. Yeah. So that's been helpful on my end. Are there any other tips for stuff that feels like not part of your routine or not part of your autopilot? How do we start conditioning that eating a salad, like for people that are like, a salad just feels foreign, I would never pick like a salad to eat? How do we integrate those habits to actually stick, rather than it being just like the diet dilemma of like, well, I dieted for 2 weeks and then went back to whatever.
So a lot of times it's because of how we associate it. And and I'll give 2 examples here. So one, I'll give you a salad example, where the reason that we've never associated eating a salad with like going out for dinner or going out for lunch or whatever it may be is because we've just never looked at that portion of the menu. We've just all of a sudden dove right into the entrees. I mean, quite honestly, like I had 2 executive level clients. Like we're talking major companies. They get per diem every day within their company. Like their per diem per day is like $200 in what they're getting for food. And I was like, man, if I was getting $200 worth of food every day, I would be eating like a freaking king, like the best of the best, like not quantity, but quality.
Wow.
And they're like, and these guys were getting pizzas and like, then just whatever at the end of the day, like just serving up for beer and stuff like that. I'm just like, man, that is not what I would use that money for.
Damn. No, that's the biggest hurdle. Yeah, is at least from what I've discovered, is the shopping and the cost are the biggest psychological hurdles for me right now.
I mean, this is the other thing is we can start diving into how it all of a sudden becomes very affordable. We could do it in a very affordable way. But what we ended up looking at, what we ended up talking about with this individual was he goes, I didn't even know a lot of these places that I was going to like had high quality salads, just because you weren't conscious or aware of what's there. But all of a sudden, if you know, hey, I'm going to have a salad for lunch, your mind all of a sudden goes there and starts thinking in a completely different way. And there's so many people and so many places that do salads really, really well now. I mean, even you go to Chipotle, for example, you don't get a burrito bowl, but you get a salad bowl. You can still have the same great things. You can still have the guac, you can still have the tomatoes, you can still have the salsas, you can still have the chicken or the meat or whatever you're putting on it. Just put on a bed of lettuce. And all of a sudden, boom, you've got a great meal right there. A great meal. And so it's the conscious awareness of how easy it is to incorporate a salad into your day. The other thing, the other item that sometimes is a hurdle for people is, well, I don't want to make a smoothie every morning, Justin. Okay, no problem. On the 1 day a week that you get really motivated to make a smoothie, make 3, put them in little Ziploc baggies, and pop them in the freezer. And all of a sudden you pull one out
Mm.
the night before, sit it in the fridge, you cut the corner off the Ziploc bag and you squeeze it and suck it out of the bag. And that's your breakfast. I mean, it's literally as simple as that. But it's bringing that awareness back to that type of methodology and that type of work that becomes super, super easy and super helpful.
Brilliant. No, that's excellent to just lower the bar. I think so many people intentionally, whether it's psychologically or literally too high to step into those new habits. If
And
there's simplified ways for it, I'm always in for the easy wins.
It's a great word you said. Like they complicate things, but not only complicating it, but putting it to a point where it needs to be perfect. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to get done. And then as you start getting into it, it's like when you were. I mean, it's a stupid example, but it's like when you were trying to ride a bike. How did you start riding a bike? I guarantee you probably started on a tricycle, something that literally could not tip over. From there, you went to a bike with training wheels, and your dad probably held the backside. And then as you were going, he probably took one of the training wheels off, and you started riding in a circle. Again, none of these things are perfect, but it's progress. Slowly getting better and better and better at it and more comfortable with it. And then all of a sudden he took the other training wheel off and he held the back and he stabilized it. And then after pedaling for a while and after drying that and getting your balance, falling maybe a couple times, he let you go, and lo and behold, you were driving away and now you're racing bikes for a living. Like that type of thing. Like you didn't all of a sudden get on a bike and then go, oh, Dad, I'm going to go and join a bike race or a bike club. That didn't happen. So don't expect to not be focused on nutrition and then the next day go buy 50 Tupperware containers and then think you're going to be the next person on like Tupperware gods or like meal prep gods, whatever it is like you want to do. Like it's not realistic. It's setting us up for failure. Literally, let's base it down to that 3-2-1-0 rule. Use the fist to measure out the portions in which we need and get on some type of system. Hey, it doesn't get easier than this. Look at this. We got 3 meals a day, 2 pieces of fruit, and 1 big salad. Stay within your portions. That's it.
Boom.
That's where we focus. That's where we put our time and attention. Do you maybe have 2 meals in one day? Sure, maybe. But guess what? You had 2 pieces of fruit, you had a big ass salad, and you stayed in your portion sizes. That's a freaking win, man. That's a win. And I guarantee your HRV is going to tell you that. Because you eat that way versus you go and have 2 meals of fast food and an apple. I guarantee your HRV, we compare the two, they're going to show something different. And that's the power of the stress that's under our body.
No, I've already in the early stages of feeling those differences. So it's brilliant to hear to set the tone here. And I think you already answered the question I was going to ask to wrap up here. What's our homework jumping into next week? I'm guessing it's sticking to that 3-2-1 that you were just mentioning, simplifying the equation, and we'll be transitioning from nutrition into hydration, which are kind of combined internally, but we'll be dedicating an entire episode to the hydration. For as Jeff was mentioning earlier, Jeff, you should have seen Justin's face when I asked if we could combine nutrition and hydration into one episode. He was like, "No way, no way." So next week there is an entire episode all on hydration. But if there's any final words or final recommendations for us coming out of this week and into next week, we can go ahead and wrap that up here. I know you got to hop off in a sec.
Yeah, no, I'm more than happy to take any questions. But the big thing, guys, heading into this week, again, remember we're habit stacking. That first week, we were really focused on just getting our plan set, putting things in place for us to know what our week looked like. That next time, we were focused on getting that one exercise piece in, that one time a day. Is it 5 minutes? Is it 10? Is it half an hour? Is it an hour? Now we're going to be doing 3-2-1-0 rule, being aware of it. 3 meals a day, 2 pieces of fruit a day, 1 big salad a day, and no servings over the portion sizes. And start slow. Start slow.
Boom. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. That wraps up another week of Build a Beast with Justin Rothling-Schofer. We will catch you guys next week. Take care.